Have you ever met someone who feels everything too deeply? Like their heart is an open wound in a world full of salt? Imagine living in a mind that never stops analyzing, caring, and dreaming, all while feeling like an alien on their own planet. This is the reality for INFJs, the rarest personality type, making up less than 1% of the population. But their rarity isn't just a fun fact. It's a storm of intensity that shapes every part of their lives. Today, we'll unpack why INFJ neurodivergence isn't just being sensitive. It's a full-time job of feeling, fixing, and surviving in a world that doesn't speak their language. Let's dive into the chaos and beauty of their inner world. 1. The INFJ enigma. Why rarest doesn't mean simple. INFJs are often called the unicorns of personality types, but this label hides more than it reveals. Being rare sounds glamorous, but for INFJs, it's lonely. Imagine speaking a dialect no one else understands. Their brains are wired differently. A mix of hyperempathy, intuition that spots patterns like a detective, and a constant buzz of thoughts. They don't just notice details, they see the why behind everything. This makes them brilliant problem solvers, but also leaves them exhausted. While others might shrug off a rude comment, INFJs dissect it for hours, wondering what do they really mean. It's like having a mental magnifying glass that never turns off. Their rarity isn't a party trick. It's a life of misunderstood depth. 2. The NIT loop. When overthinking becomes a survival skill, INFJs have a superpower called introverted intuition, NI, which lets them predict outcomes like a psychic. But under stress, this gift backfires. They get stuck in an NIT loop where their intuition teams up with analytical thinking, T, to overanalyze everything. Picture this. An INFJ gets a weird text from a friend. Instead of waiting to talk, their brain spirals. Did I offend them? Are they hiding something? What if our friendship is over? They'll replay the conversation, research social cues, and draft 10 apology texts, just in case. This isn't drama. It's their brain's way of craving control in a chaotic world. The loop isn't a flaw. It's their mind's attempt to protect them from pain. But it's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. 3. Emotional synesthesia. Feeling the world in 4K. If you've ever called an INFJ too sensitive, you've missed the point. Their empathy isn't a choice. It's a flood they can't escape. Thanks to their extrovert feeling, function, they absorb emotions like sponges. Walk into a room tense from an argument, and an INFJ will feel it in their chest before anyone speaks. Watch a sad movie, they'll cry for the characters, not just with them. This emotional synesthesia means they experience others' feelings as their own. It's why they're amazing friends but often end up drained. Their mirror neurons, brain cells that mimic others' emotions, work overtime, blurring the line between your pain and my pain. For INFJs, empathy isn't kindness, it's biology. 4. The burden of idealism. When saving the world becomes a curse. INFJs are born idealists. They dream of a world where everyone is kind, justice wins, and no one eats lunch alone. But reality? It's a slap in the face. Their neurodivergence makes them hyper-aware of how far the world is from their ideals. A news story about war? It keeps them up at night. A friend's lie? It feels like a betrayal. They don't just want to fix problems. They feel personally responsible for them. This guilt is crushing. While others might donate to a charity and move on, INFJs think, why can't I do more? Their idealism isn't naivety. It's a moral compass that points north 24/7, even when it leads them into storms. 5. The secret world of hyperfocus. Obsession as a second language. When life gets overwhelming, INFJs don't relax. They hyperfocus. Imagine escaping into a hobby so deeply that time vanishes. For INFJs, this isn't a luxury, it's survival. Their brains, overloaded by emotions, crave a reset button. So they dive into passions, painting, writing, baking, or even researching random topics like the history of paperclips. This hyperfocus isn't procrastination, it's a mental shield. By zoning in on one thing, they mute the noise of the world. It's like retreating into a fortress where only their curiosity matters. But there's a catch. If interrupted, they feel jerked back into reality, a harsh transition that leaves them irritable. For INFJs, hyperfocus isn't a hobby, it's therapy. 6. The paradox of loneliness. Surrounded by people, yet always alone. INFJs are social chameleons. At parties, they're charming listeners who remember your dog's name. But inside, they're screaming, "When can I leave?" Their ability to adapt to others' moods means they often hide their true selves to keep peace. They'll laugh at jokes they don't find funny or nod along to opinions they disagree with. But this masking comes at a cost. After socializing, they feel emptier, not fuller. It's like performing in a play where everyone else gets to be themselves, but the INFJ is stuck reciting lines. Their loneliness isn't about being alone, it's about being unknown. Even in a crowd, they're the odd one out, guarding a self they fear no one would understand. 7. Sensory overload. When the world is too loud, too bright, too everything. For INFJs, a flickering light isn't just annoying, it's torture. Their inferior extrovert sensing, say, function makes them ultra-sensitive to their environment. Loud chewing, scratchy fabrics, or bright lights don't just bother them, they hurt. It's like their nervous system is a live wire, picking up every sensation. While others might enjoy a busy cafe, INFJs are distracted by clattering dishes, overlapping conversations, and flickering screens. This sensitivity isn't being picky, it's biology. Their brains process sensory input intensely, leaving them overwhelmed. To cope, they might retreat into quiet, dimly lit spaces or wear noise-canceling headphones. Anything to mute the world's volume. 8. The perfectionism trap. When good enough is a myth. INFJs don't just want to do well, they need to be flawless. That email? They'll rewrite it 7 times. That gift? They'll stress over whether it's meaningful enough. Their perfectionism isn't vanity, it's fear. Fear of criticism, fear of letting others down, fear of being exposed as a fraud. Their inner critic is a relentless coach, yelling, "You could have done better." Even when others praise them, INFJs think, "But what about that one mistake?" This drive isn't healthy, it's a prison. They set impossible standards, then beat themselves up for failing. It's like running a marathon with no finish line and blaming themselves for getting tired. 9. The crisis of purpose. Existential dread on speed dial. INFJs need meaning like plants need sunlight. Ask them, "What's your purpose?" and you'll trigger an existential crisis. Their self-worth ties directly to feeling useful. A job that pays well but feels empty? It's soul-crushing. They'll volunteer, mentor, or create art, not for applause but to feel alive. But society often values money over meaning, forcing INFJs into impossible choices. Do I pay bills or follow my heart? This tension leads to guilt. If they're not changing the world, they feel like failures. Even when they're helping others, they'll think, "But I should be doing more." For INFJs, purpose isn't a goal, it's oxygen. 10. The gift of depth. Why the world needs INFJ intensity. Yes, INFJ neurodivergence is exhausting, but it's also a gift. Their intensity gives them a rare depth. They're the friends who remember your fears and dreams, the artists who create beauty from pain, the quiet leaders who inspire change. They see through lies, challenge apathy, and love fiercely. In a world obsessed with surfaces, INFJs dive into the deep end. Are they messy? Absolutely. But they are too much. Ness is what the world needs. They remind us to care, to question, and to hope, even when it's hard. Without INFJs, the world would be a little colder, a little quieter, and a lot less human. Conclusion. So why is INFJ neurodivergence so intense? Because they're not just living, they're feeling life on max volume. Every emotion, every interaction, every dream is dialed up to 100. It's a life of beautiful chaos, exhausting, isolating, but full of meaning. To the INFJs, Your intensity isn't a flaw. It's your superpower. The world might not always understand you, but it needs your fire, your depth, and your stubborn hope. Keep feeling, keep fighting, and remember, your too much is exactly enough.